All right, welcome into the Jordy Culotta Show, presented every day by Go Chevrolet here on this Tuesday morning, as we will react to last night LSU's basketball season coming to an end at the hands of Michigan, as Hunt Palmer will stop by from the LSU Sports Radio Network. We'll talk a lot of things with Hunt, including LSU basketball and the season last night coming to a conclusion. Also, LSU Mississippi State on the diamond this past weekend. As Hunt was there, we'll get his reaction to LSU falling 2 out of 3 times to the Bulldogs. We will also talk to Kevin Falk coming up here in the second hour today. Looking forward to talking to Coach Falk as the Tigers are on the practice field, spring practice field here for football drills. And we'll talk to Coach Falk coming up at 8:30 this morning. 8 a.m., big win for Frank Wilson and the Pokes up in Natchitoches over the weekend as McNeese goes up to Northwestern and takes care of business as they get a win heading into the bye. We'll talk to Coach Wilson coming up at his usual 8 a.m. spot here on the Jordy Culotta Show. As we got the crew in here. Lizzie's here, Nick's here, Katie's here.
Hey.
After last night's not too enthusiastic.
Katie was really excited to be here.
Hey, I am excited to be here. I'm always excited to be here. Last night was disappointing. You're right. I was just playing into that.
It was.
Yeah.
We will. We'll have to move Kevin Falk. My bad. Kevin Falk just texted and said we'll have to move till
He's like,
tomorrow.
whoa.
We should know he's listening.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
I got a truck and some tow straps. We can. What does he need to move? A couch?
Yeah. We'll be over there in 10 minutes, Coach. But we will react a lot to March Madness, obviously, as LSU basketball falls last night to Michigan. And if you've got a comment, if you've got a thought, remember you can jump inside of the bunker as we are there over on YouTube, over on Facebook. New look for the Jordy Culotta Show.
Look.
Yes, love it.
I can make it move.
Do it.
Prove
Do
it.
it.
Prove it.
It looks awesome.
I think I can.
It does look great. It looks great. All right, so if you got a comment, remember, like, share, get inside of the bunker. Let us know what's going on. We always appreciate the interaction here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Our coffee every day is brought to you by Majestic Coffee, locally brewed. Majestic Coffee out of New Orleans. We appreciate them being a part of the show, and all of our guests today on the phone line will stop in compliments of Metropolitan Health Group. As Metropolitan Health Group, real doctors, real solutions every single day. Dr. Charlie, not doctor, Charlie Harvey and Jason Ramazan are helping us out
I'm sure
over
he's
there.
fine with that.
Just hand those things out.
At Metropolitan
Dr.
Health
Charlie?
Group. That's right. Everybody around here went to school for 7 years.
Yeah, they're called doctors.
Speak for yourself.
That's right. Tough one last night for LSU basketball. Let me start off by saying this. Lloyd and I were here at halftime, and we were talking a little bit about where LSU was. And at the break, LSU had 0 turnovers. Cam had 20, and they had nearly played perfect basketball for 20 minutes, and they were down. And I thought and said at halftime that was a little concerning, because to me, the definition and term of a number 1 seed should be defined as if I take your best player off your team and you can still win in big games. Think about it. Think about if LSU plucked Cameron Thomas off of their team for 1 game. Where would they be? Maybe Trendon Watford. Maybe Javonte Smart. Take one of those 3 guys off the floor, and what's the scouting report on LSU going to be? How big of a threat is LSU going to be that certain night? How good is Michigan with Isaiah Livers? I mean, to think about potentially how good they could be. Now, I watched Gonzaga play yesterday, and it's going to be tough to beat Gonzaga in this tournament. I mean, they look to me like a G League basketball team. They look like
They're unbeatable.
almost a semi-pro team.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, they do.
With the way that they play. And they're playing with this confidence and air to them right now where they seem like they know they're the best team. And that's dangerous. When you put the best team with a mindset like that, they usually become really, really tough to beat. But thinking last night, watching Michigan play, and look, they were tough, man.
What about Hunter Dickinson?
Hunter
That
Dickinson's a
kid's
stud.
amazing.
Well, I mean, I think you knew Dickinson when Livers in the news came out that he was going to be missing action, and Juwan Howard, the head coach for Michigan, reiterated that last night in the post game, saying that, look, Livers is out indefinitely. But to see the guys that stepped up around him and to think about potentially what they would be with him in the lineup is very scary. I mean, I thought, Michigan, hats off to Michigan. First is where I would start the analysis of this game. Because, like I said, they took LSU's best punch. That was as hard of a haymaker and as tough of a haymaker that LSU could throw within that 20 minutes. LSU was up 9 in the first half. They were up as much as 6 early on in the second half. And for them to be down at halftime like they were, I thought was a very concerning stat when you just said out loud how good they were playing and just didn't have the lead. Now, Johns for them picked it up. Wagner last night was fantastic. Brooks, was great for Michigan last night. They got all types of production on the floor.
And it seems like they all got hot at the same time, too.
Yeah.
As opposed to LSU was kind of in and out. We had Cam carrying us, then Javante carried us, and it wasn't like a total team effort, I guess you could say, in terms of production at the same time. But Michigan, they just came at you in waves.
They did. They did. And Dickinson's tough down there at 7-1. He's such a tough matchup when you just look at him physically on the floor. Eli Brooks is kind of a spark plug and a veteran guy that Michigan was counting on. But look, all in all, I thought that the better team won the game, really and truly. I mean, LSU was in it, and we can talk about the officiating, and I thought at times the officiating was horrendous. I thought the worst call of the game, in my opinion, the worst call of the game is in the second half when Cam catches the ball on the baseline and he makes a move to get into the paint and he makes an and one, and they call a charge on him where the defender is moving sideways. He's moving sideways. I think it was Mike Smith, the little guard, that was was defending. I mean, he was moving laterally and jumps off the ground. Cam makes an incredible shot to and one it in. They call an offensive player control foul going the other way, and just like that, I thought the game was over, really, from that point on. And I'm not blaming the officials, because if they get that call, I'm not saying that they win the game. But it was a huge momentum shift late in that ball game that could have given LSU another sense of life, right? Because that was a game of runs last night.
Yeah,
I mean, at one point, as we said, Michigan took a 1-point lead into halftime, and then the momentum swings. LSU comes out with an early 8-0 run. Michigan answers with a 10-0 run, then another 5-0 run. Early in that game, LSU had 7-0 runs, 6-0 runs. I mean, it was a game, like Lloyd said. I mean, it was a game that came in waves, but the waves in the second half for Michigan just crashed too hard as their depth was on display. I thought that Juwan Howard was very impressive from a coaching standpoint with the way that he dialed up and was able to get through LSU's pressure. I thought early on LSU's game plan was as good as you could defend Michigan. I mean, Michigan was uncomfortable in that game as far as the start went in both halves. LSU did a nice job of game planning coming into the matchup, and then they did a really nice job within the game making some adjustments and coming out with a plan that really had Michigan on their heels for the first 6 minutes of the second half. But Michigan, just a better team. Really, I think that at the end of it, they're just a better basketball team than LSU. Like I said, you take their best player, Livers, who consistently, start to finish, while he was on the floor for Michigan this year, was their best player. And to see them in a game like, I mean, that was high-level basketball for 32 minutes. I mean, that was as good of basketball. That's what you get in the round in this tournament. You match up teams that are elite, talented, and that have really good coaches. But the better team won.
Damn.
No officiating, no excuses, Nothing you can do about that. You came out with a great game plan. You executed. No turnovers. You were perfect from the free throw line to the first 20 minutes. Cam was on. I mean, some of those shots Cam was hitting last night, you just thought, this is it. I mean, he dribbles left, comes off a screen, raises up, doesn't touch anything but the net, and you're thinking, wow, here we go, man. Get him the rock and get out the way. It's one of those nights for him. But, you know, I mean, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat in basketball when you're talking about somebody's average. And him having 20 at half was a really good feeling, but he always settles in around that 25 to 30 mark. He got to 30 last night, 29. You know, I mean, he was as hot as he was in the first half. It looked like he ran out of some steam and ran out of some juice in the second half. And it looked like they hit a wall to a degree. And I don't know if that was the lack of depth versus the depth that they were playing last night, or just the wave crashing into LSU basketball. Like Will Wade told us last week, they hadn't been home. They hadn't seen anybody. They hadn't been back to Baton Rouge since the SEC tournament. They've been away for a long time. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying that they looked like a tired team throughout the last 6 minutes.
Well, and the game plan that went into it, because the pressure, the trapping, all that on the defensive end will come to a head at some point.
Yeah.
Which I like the idea, because it, like you said, it kept Michigan on their toes, and there was a lot you could tell that they were uncomfortable with LSU's athleticism. And then when you're not as deep as we want to be, then you can kind of lose a little bit of an edge there at the end.
Always talk about the field goal stat here. John Brady always pushes us towards that stat number and says, watch who wins that, and that usually tells you who's going to win the game. Michigan shot nearly 54% from the field last night compared to LSU's 39%. LSU was 6 of 21 from behind three-point land. Michigan was 10 of 25. Here's the stat that Will Wade told you 2 weeks ago right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. When he was talking about his team, from his point of view, he said when LSU's season comes to an end, we are going to lose the rebounding stat. They lost it last night 37-30. Michigan had 22 assists. I mean, for as good as LSU played in the first 20 minutes, Michigan was responding and answering with everything.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, for as dynamic as LSU was from the field, as good as Cam was shooting it within the first 20 minutes, I mean, Michigan answered every single time. Michigan's a really good team, man. I can't imagine matching up with them with livers. I really can't. I mean, after watching them last night, I hadn't watched enough Michigan basketball to really have a thought or an analysis on it, but I can tell you watching that team last night and thinking of them playing without their best player, got to be frustrating for a guy like Juwan. I mean, that's got to be frustrating for your team, Howard, the coaches, to get to this point, have that type of team and not have your horse that you can ride here heading into Sweet 16 and Elite 8 weekend.
Especially with the way the bracket's set up.
Yeah.
I mean, people are going down left and right. So there's 2 1 seeds left?
3 1
seeds,
yeah.
And then 2 seed got eliminated. So it's set up if you have your
I'm
your
still in
Hawks.
first place.
Are you?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
How'd you look yesterday?
I
Who'd you have in
picked
this
Kansas,
game?
though.
Yeah, Kansas?
So I was wrong on that. And I picked Colorado.
Colorado?
That game, did y'all watch that game?
I did not
Florida
watch a
State,
lot
Colorado?
of that. But
My
I saw
God.
Florida State ran away with it.
Talk
And
about looking like a professional team. Florida State.
what about USC?
I didn't
versus
watch
Kansas. I mean, they beat Kansas last night 85-51. USC moving on to the Sweet 16. In doing so, they handed Kansas, and we got to be thinking like Kansas now. You think about college basketball, that's where the game started, right? I mean, like
Kansas?
yes. Prior to that, last night, Kansas, that was their third worst loss in program history. Kansas missed its first 8 shots last night. You knew it was going to be bad for the Jayhawks, as they were 6 of 34 from outside the paint last night. USC faces Oregon, who looked incredible after missing a first round after getting that game called off versus VCU to start the tournament. Oregon and the Pac-10, or excuse me, the Pac-12. How about them? I mean, how about that conference? 4 teams left after 5 bids handed out. Big Ten handed out 9 bids, only 1 team left, and that's Michigan. But this tournament's been crazy, man. The seed number of the 16 remaining teams add up to 94. So if you understand what I was saying, so like the number next to the teams, the amount of teams in the seeding left all add up to 94, which is the highest total in NCAA history since the field expanded back in 1985. The previous record was held back in 1986, where LSU was the first 11 seed to make the Final Four. This year's regional semifinal include a 15th seeded Oral Roberts team, who look really good, 12th seeded Oregon State, 11th seeded Syracuse, 11th seeded UCLA, and 8th seeded Loyola Chicago, who looks like a Final Four team.
Yep,
They do.
3 number 1 seeds did make it through. Illinois was bounced by Illinois Chicago or Loyola Chicago. Gonzaga, Michigan, and Baylor still alive. It's a 6th straight Sweet 16 appearance for Gonzaga and the 4th for Michigan. Those are the nation's 2 longest streaks. But as we said, Gonzaga looks unbeatable in this tournament right now. But the tournament is crazy, man. And that's what March is. That's what we were kind of hoping for when we were watching the game yesterday here at the undisclosed location, was a little bit of March to happen for LSU. And I thought it did when the point guard walked in front of LSU's bench. I thought that LSU was going to get a shot there. I thought they were going to draw something up for Cam, get a quick 3. Cam gets to the rim, and they turn it over. But I will say this. After watching Tennessee play with a 5 seed or a 6 seed next to their name, LSU and an 8 seed was a bigger crime than I thought it was, and when it was originally announced on Selection Sunday. I mean, that's what happens when you get that line, when you get that number, when you get that 8 seed. You're going to be matched up. That 8-9 seed, you're going to be matched up in the round of 32 versus a 1 seed. I mean, LSU looks like a top 16 team in the country when you watch them play over the last 2 weeks. Just got a bad draw. Had to play Michigan in the second round of the tournament, and the better team won the game. Where does LSU go from here? I was talking this morning with the group, and I hope that Cam Thomas comes back. I hope that Cam Thomas comes back for Cam Thomas more than I do LSU basketball. And LSU basketball is going to be is going to have a good recruiting class. Hopefully, we'll see what they return after all of this shakes out. But you know, you went into this season under the impression that Darius Days, Trendon Watford, Javonte Smart, and Cam Thomas were going to be here for 1 year, for one more season, with those guys, Days, Watford, and Smart. Thomas coming in as a true freshman. I would say this. I think that it's probably time for Darius Days to take that trip and go see where he fits in at the next level. I've always said this. Out of the big 3, out of Watford, Days, and Smart, I think from a pro potential standpoint, Days has the higher ceiling than any of them. Because he can score. Because he can shoot. Because he can get his shot. Now, he's a streaky shooter, which usually doesn't translate well to the next level. They want consistency. But he has potential to be a scorer. And I think Days is probably going to make the decision pretty quick where he's not going to come back.
Yeah, he posted on his Instagram story the other night, last night after the game, with his jersey saying, "Thanks for everything, LSU. 4 out."
There you go. I mean, doesn't get any more clearer than that.
Yep. I think you're right. I think his game translates the best out of those 3 to the NBA, because he's essentially a 3-and-D guy, and that's what the NBA's turned into.
Yeah, and he can potentially one night he can get you 25.
Yeah, I mean he can play in the post.
Yeah, he can. I mean he's tough. He does some of the dirty stuff where he'll rebound, he'll move some people around, but he also gets lost at times. I mean, you also wonder where that's why I was so complimentary of his SEC championship performance versus Alabama, because usually when he's shooting like that and he's not finding a rhythm or he's not finding any consistency, he'll just check out. You'll wonder where he is, right? And I thought in that game he had 8 rebounds, And since then he's had more of an impact on the game. As far as Trendon Watford goes, as frustrating as he was at times during the season, and there were points in the season where I wondered aloud why he was on the floor. I just didn't know where or what he was trying to do or where he was trying to fit in. I thought that it was a bad plan to put the ball in his hands primarily and let him to bring the ball up the floor. I thought it exposed him a lot, and it was obviously something that he heard feedback in last summer that they needed the pro scouts, the pro decision makers. They needed to see whether or not Watford could handle that role. Could he be a primary ball handler? Could he work with the ball in his hand? And he really can't, right? I mean, not for the elite level. But over the last couple of weeks, I have to imagine his draft stock has been on the rise because he has settled in to playing this bully ball game that he excels at. And I thought last night, even early on, he settled a little bit. I thought that he had advantage last night within 5 feet away from the rim, which he's shown over the last couple of weeks, where he's unstoppable. Now, the free throws woes last night came to bite him in the second half. And like we've talked about, over the last couple of weeks, at some points, his best game plan to defend him should just be a hack of Watford. You know what I mean? Hack a Watt. I mean, put him on the line and see if he can't just earn it, because he's so rattled and shook on the free throw line, he just looks uncomfortable. It almost looks like he just doesn't want to be there. He just doesn't want to be there. And some of those shots last night felt like it. I mean, those were bricks. Those were uncomfortable shots.
He nearly airballed one.
Yeah, nearly airballed one. A big one.
Yeah.
A huge one.
After a make.
So I don't know. I don't know where he fits in the NBA. He's got a tough time moving laterally, which you have to be able to defend in that league. I mean, just think about some of the ball handlers in that league that can dribble, free throw line to free throw line in 5 or 6 dribbles, 3 or 4 crossovers, and they're at the other rim. You're going to have to be able to move laterally. You're going to have to be able to move backwards. You're going to have to be an athlete. And I think that Trendon Watford is more of a basketball player than he is an athlete. And the NBA has become an athlete's game where, the 3-and-D guy that get out and run and space the floor and make shots, making shots is argued at the pro level as a skill, something that you can refine, something that you can get really good at. You can't teach somebody talented with the ball in his hand. But on an NBA floor, who is he going to defend, I think, is going to be the question. And then that goes to Javonte Smart. Javonte is a player that I've had the same type of analysis on. Where does he fit in? What's he do best? What's his ceiling? Where is he going to fit in on an NBA roster? And I think that he's answered a lot of that over the last couple of weeks, man. I mean, he's hit some huge shots, big possessions, that he stepped up and he really was again last night. I mean, he came down, hit a couple of lethal 3-pointers that you just, to be able to pull that, the confidence to pull that, just kind of shows you the type of player he is. But I don't know where he goes. I don't know where you ask him to play. Does he handle it well enough to be a point guard in the NBA? Does he shoot it good enough to be an off guard at the next level? He's not big enough to play some of these positions. I mean, the NBA game has become a positionless sport where a lot of these guys, night in, night out, I mean, look at Zion. I know that Zion is a unique example in the sense of there's not a lot of people on the planet that are like him, but he's 6'8", 300 pounds running the point. You know, I mean, that's just kind of what the game has evolved to. I mean, that's not crazy anymore when you have that. So I think that as crazy as it is, I think that Javonte should probably come back, but he's not. He's not. You know, and I don't think that any of those three guys are. I hope that Cam Thomas does, because Cam Thomas, in my opinion, could become a better basketball player, like a truly legitimate better player. He can pass it, man. He's got really good instincts. I mean, the way that he set up a couple of players, I think that Cam's problem with passing is that Cam is the example of the guy that has always been the man. He's always bailed his team out. He's always, if you look at his high school team, they really weren't that good. They kind of looked to him to bail him out, to get him out of trouble, and he always would. And I think there is a trust that has to be developed when you play alongside guys that can hoop like you. I think that there has to be that type of window for anything, in any trade. I mean, I speak for what I do. There has to be some type of trust factor that you develop with somebody that you sit here on the microphone with every day. There has to be some type of trust developed with you in your workspace of somebody that you're working alongside with every single day. There has to be some type of time or development time within there that you just say, hey, we got to figure it out. And there's going to be some moments that look a little clunky or sound a little weird. But I thought that Cam, towards the last and the back end of the season, really started to develop that skill of sharing the ball. Now, he doesn't do it. He's not going to do it primarily because it's just not his mentality. But I think you started to see that skill developed, and he would, in my opinion, he could really capitalize off of coming back for another season in the sense of, hey, look, man, just come back and become a better player, because right now you're probably a late first, early second round pick, and you could play yourself into the lottery. You know, and from a financial standpoint, I mean, you're talking about millions and millions of dollars. I don't know if it makes sense. I know that Cam has always wanted to play and be an NBA player. Obviously, he's got the skill set and the scoring ability to play at that level. How fast does he want to get there? Does he just say, hey, man, just get me in? I'll take my time and go through the G League. I'll take the Blakeney and the Sampson route and the Garrett Temple route where I'll just get in, pay my dues, pay my time, and I'll trust and bet on myself. Maybe so. But I think if you're advising Cam, somebody has to at least see that, hey, if you went back, you could improve your stock and might be a lottery pick. And you can skip all that G League crap and all that, fighting your way and scratching and clawing your way to a roster and just go be a lottery pick. And you may have to go through that route still, but you'll have millions in your pocket. I don't know. We'll talk to Hunt Palmer about it and see what he thinks as far as the future goes of the LSU roster. But I thought, from a last night standpoint and LSU season coming to an end, Michigan was a better team. They played without their best player. LSU threw their biggest haymaker at them, and they took it on the chin and came right back at LSU and deserved to win the game. Daily, we're brought to you by Relief Telemed. Remember, over at Relief, it's the best way and the only way to get your health care in 2021, in your home or on site. Download the app right now. Go to your Apple or Google app stores and download the app named Relief Health. Relief is changing how healthcare is delivered. No more doctor's offices, no more waiting rooms. Healthcare in the comfort of your own home. It's very easy. Download the app, as we said, Apple or Google app stores. Relief Health is what you're looking for. They've got the vaccine. They've got the Moderna vaccine, and from what we've been told, Vishal is going to come on site to the UDL.
From what we've been told.
And we'll see. We'll see if he comes through. We could get vaccinated over here at the undisclosed location, but the nurse comes to you for any testing, any evaluations. Relief Telemed. Download the app at Relief Health today, Apple or Google app stores. And remember, healthcare in 2021 is changing. It's right there in the palm of your hand. Download the app, Relief Health today. We'll talk to Hunt Palmer. We'll close out this LSU basketball season with Hunt and our conversation with him. And we will look forward to an LSU baseball weekend coming up in Tennessee with the Tigers on the road for the first time. Coming up with Hunt next here on the Jordy Culotta Show. How confident do you feel about your streaming service? Do you know if you have the right gear or not? Is Facebook and YouTube consistently letting you down? I now present to you WSN Live. WSN can help your church, your team, your community bring everyone together for one streaming service where there's no more equipment guessing, broadcasts that your audience will absolutely love, and a support team that you will have around the clock. WSN Live. Go Chevrolet is under new management, but it's the same old familiar names that you know here from the area. Lee Carney and Nick Richard are up and running in LaPlace, Louisiana, and they want you to stop in today. But if you can't, they'll make it easy for you. They'll come to you. Log online to GoChevrolet.com. That's GEAUX Chevrolet.com. Go Chevrolet is conveniently located on Airline Highway in LaPlace, Louisiana. Shop all the inventory, whether it's new or pre-owned, at GoChevrolet.com. That's GEAUX Chevrolet.com. Dr. James Johnson and Dr. Chad Spillers of Johnson and Spillers Dentistry, with 2 locations, one in Gonzales and one in Baton Rouge between Segan Lane and Bluebonnet, offer everything from ceramic crowns to pediatric dentistry, dental cleanings, Botox, extractions. They're online at johnsonspillers.com. Located in Gonzales and in Baton Rouge, seeing both new patients and existing patients. Log online to johnsonspillers.com.
If you missed the show, you can always check out our podcast, brought to you by RMB Builders, on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you can listen to podcasts.
Appreciate the feedback inside of the bunker. Remember, hop inside there. Randy Lanois, godfather of our show. LSU's inability to close out the last 4 minutes of the first half once again was their Achilles heel. I thought so too. They had really good opportunities there. I thought to really get that game within one was a success for LSU with the way that last 4 minutes was trending towards the Tigers. But they came out and had a quick start to the second half, much like they started in the first half, but was unable to withstand some of the waves of haymakers that Michigan was throwing at LSU. Hunt Palmer was kind enough to jump on with us last night as we did a little halftime hit with LSU and Michigan, and very optimistic going into the second half. And the way that it started, it looked like LSU was going to have Michigan on the ropes again. I thought it was a testament to Michigan and how good they are, Hunt. I mean, you take their best player off their team, you take anybody's best player off of their team, and you expect them to be, in a tough situation. But I thought that the people that stepped up last night for Michigan really defined how good of a basketball team they are. I thought the better team won. Good morning. How are you?
I'm bummed out this morning. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of college basketball and college baseball. It's different than football. In football, you know pretty clearly when your season's going to end. In basketball and baseball, it's over after you lose the last one. You never know exactly when it's going to happen. So I enjoyed the ride so much, and I'm bummed out this morning.
Yeah. What did you see in the second half where it got away from LSU, or when did you see that game start to slip away?
Well, LSU just couldn't guard them, and that's been a bit of an issue all year. This one was a little bit different than than the rest of the year because it all really stemmed from Dickinson. LSU just doesn't have an answer for him, and we knew that, but there aren't a lot of teams that have 7-footers that can score, and LSU was so compromised on defense trying to deal with that. They went to that 3/4 court press, which opened the floor up a little bit, and then when they got into the half court and they threw it down there, LSU was sending 2 and 3 guys, and it left playmakers open, and Michigan are really good, and that's why they started the season 18-1 and are a 1 seed in the tournament. And LSU just didn't have enough horses to guard them. They got what they needed to on offense for the vast majority of the game. They just weren't able to get enough stops.
What'd you make of Cam Thomas's performance last night?
He came out with that flamethrower that we've been looking for. I think what it comes down to is that, in past years, and even anybody else on this team, if they go out and get 29 points, you're like, holy crap,
yeah.
This guy scored 29 points. We just expect him to score 29 points. That's how good he is. He really should have scored more. They kind of quit calling fouls on him around the basket, but he was great last night. That's what they needed to have. They were going to have everybody firing all cylinders. I just thought they'd be able to get a few more stops than that, and it turned out they couldn't.
If you were advising him, what would you tell him to do?
Oh, he's gone.
No, I know he is, but what would be your advice for him?
Well, he's got to work on his defense, which he will. He's got to work on his ability to dish the ball. He got much better at that as the year went on. Made a couple really nice passes against St. Bonaventure for scores. Early in the year, he just wasn't even making an attempt to pass the ball. But he's a really hard worker. He's got a great attitude, a great way about him, and he's going to be an NBA player because he's got the ability to score from anywhere on the floor. There are some holes in his game, and he's got to work on that, and that's why he'll be a later first round or early second round pick, probably later first round. But he's I enjoyed the heck out of watching him play.
Is he the only pro in this roster right now?
He's the only surefire NBA guy on the roster. I mean, the other guys will collect a check to play basketball. Where that may be, we'll see. But Watford's got some things you can't coach. He's got great skills and huge height. He's not all that quick. He's not very good on the defensive end. He turns it over too much, and he's a bad shooter at this point. But that's stuff that you can learn as a 20-year-old, and that they'll take a chance on. Days he's just 2 inches too short to be exactly what he needs to be in the NBA. So he's probably a G League overseas guy. And then Javante, he really improved his shooting in 3 years in Baton Rouge, and that's going to serve him well. But he still shoots a set shot. He's not a great defender. He's a below the rim player, and so there's some limitations there. But he'll get a check somewhere.
Hut Palmer joining us here on the Jordy Culotta Show. What do you make of the state? Where is the state of LSU basketball after another 20-win season for the Tigers? Would have been back-to-back tournament appearances if it wasn't for COVID, or 3 tournament appearances in a row if it wasn't for COVID last season. What do you make of the state of the basketball program as it's going through a identity shift with guys like Smart, Watford, and Days on the move?
Yeah, that's the hardest part. I think, they got a lot of good players on this team, and it never really came all the way together. I guess you could say in Nashville was as close as it could. But that's a lot of huge recruiting wins that are going out the door. And you've got some good players, and the program's real healthy. You've won three tournament games in the last quote-unquote 2 years, and there's a healthy amount of talent in the program and on the way in, but you're losing the headliners and the guys who you leaned on for. We'll have to look at the final book, but so much of your production. So it's hard right now for me to sit here and predict that the team would be better next year. I think there are some things that I think that you may look at a better defensive team next year. I think Gaines and Cook and Mwani and LeBlanc, those guys are more defensive-minded guys than some of the scorers that are leaving. But, man, to lose that kind of firepower and production makes it tough to think that things are going to get a lot better next year. But the guy that's in charge right now is put this program on a plane that it hadn't been on in 30 years. So I'm excited about it.
I'm usually a phone Nazi when I'm handling interviews. The Bluetooth sounds fantastic, almost too good, where it's picking up everything that's happening in the back.
Are you driving through a construction
I got
zone?
you on speed bumps. Is that speed bumps or the interstate?
I'd say submarine.
It's just I-10. I apologize. I can pull it off the bridge.
No. You're good. I mean, the sound is fantastic as far as the audio is concerned. Like I said, it's almost too good in the sense where it's picking up. I mean, it's picking up everything. I thought you were fantastic once again on the call. Don't worry about these Mississippi State fans that are coming after you, bro.
You think I'm worried about
No,
that?
I don't. Not at all. I do not. Because Katie is a Mississippi State fan, and she put it in the document that she wanted to get after your ass on the black uniforms.
I just thought maybe a little research would have been good on it. That was a superstition.
I had to explain to her that you were on the LSU call.
I understand that you're on the LSU call.
And so, what did you make of Sunday and the backlash that you received from the Starkville native, the Mississippi State faithful?
Well, look, I was very complimentary of the program. I think the team is great. They got a lot of good arms. They're an SEC championship contender, but no baseball team ever, under any circumstance, can wear black pants. It looks terrible.
Disagree.
Yeah,
a lot of the all black.
It's exactly what softball teams wear, and it's it's good for their sport. And
It
it's what
started
beer league
from
softball
that was
teams
a
wear.
Jake Mangum thing. It started in 2019.
It did feel very red, rock, and blue. It did. It did feel very red, rock, and blue.
I don't even know why.
Gross. But I was a little bit taken. Now look, I'm 100% certain that if Ole Miss came out in black uniforms on a Sunday, Mississippi State fans would say that was the ugliest thing they'd ever seen.
I love an all-black uniform, and I tweeted out actually that every team should have one. Love it.
It's if LSU came out there, I don't think I'd be able to watch the game. It's that awful.
And it's the pants.
And look, LSU's uniforms, they're all white uniforms are terrible now because they don't have piping on. They look like sweatpants.
I agree.
It's just the nature of what it is.
I mean, did they not have...
The uniforms Mississippi State came out in on Saturday with the grays and the script state were excellent. Awesome uniforms, but the black's just bad.
Are there no grays for LSU this year?
We'll probably see them on Friday night, and they won't have piping on them, and they'll look like sweatpants and pajamas, and they won't look very good either.
Well, you got your name out there. You got that Clarion Ledger guy tweeting about you, so your name is out there now.
Yeah, Tyler Horka comes on my pregame show every year for football, so I know Tyler, and I told him I appreciated him unleashing the masses on me. I got some direct messages that had some profane language.
Aww,
my image was photoshopped onto an adult film star.
No, it was not. I did not see that. I did not see that.
It's still up there. Just search my name. There was plenty of action.
What did you think of the weekend? Did you see the weekend kind of going like that?
Yeah, I'm really skeptical of this team's bats, and they didn't show up for 2 days against really good pitching. You can hit a bunch of home runs against these guys that they were playing. They're throwing 87 miles an hour. When they start showing up throwing 95, the game changes a little bit. Marceau was great. Hill was good enough, certainly, and then Labus gave you what you needed. And the guys came through against the bullpen on Sunday and pulled one out. But against elite arms, I trust Cruz, I trust Doty, and the rest of the guys have got to prove themselves. And so, it's not as if the team has no chance to hit, but right now, I'm skeptical of where the bats are.
What did you make of their defensive woes this weekend?
Yeah, I don't think those are going anywhere. It's just not a defensive team that looks like Ibarra and Bregman and Freeman. It doesn't, or Bregman and Jacoby Jones. It doesn't look like Josh Smith and Kramer and Freeman. They just don't have those great infielders with the great hands. I think Thompson is going to make some plays, but he's going to kick some. When they put Arnold out there, he's not his hands aren't great. Doty's not an elite defender. They just don't have great infielders. So it's going to be a little bit of an issue all year. You just hope that they can strike out enough guys, pitch their way through it, and then swing the bats when they need to.
Cade Beloso's struggles up to this point. Maneri was talking more about him yesterday about some individual work that they did in the cages. Where is he now, and do you expect him to break out of this funk?
Well, now he's behind some guys in terms of playing certainly in the outfield, and then at DH he slipped behind some people as well. So they're going to have to find him some at bats. I think he'll, over the course of a 56-inning season, he'll come out of it. and they need him because he's a good left-handed bat who's got the ability to hit for some power. So they would really like him to come on, but it's just a matter now of getting him some at bats.
LSU this weekend versus Tennessee. Hunt, did I see this? Is that Al Leiter's son who threw the no-hitter?
Jack.
Yeah, at Vanderbilt.
Jack Leiter? I mean,
he's better than Kumar Rocker.
Really?
He struck out. He gave up a leadoff walk to South Carolina on Saturday, and then retired 27 straight. So it was almost a perfect game. He struck out 16. His 124th pitch of the game was 97 miles an hour. He's got everything you would need in an arm. He throws an electric fastball. His sliders wipe out. The command is great. That top two, there have been some really good ones in SEC history. I don't know of a better one that I've ever seen.
And Jaden Hill was being talked about in that class going into the season. They had to wait and see him against some of the elite talent of the league. You've got about 6 weeks. You got about 5 weeks of Hill on record. Where is he? What do you make of him on Friday nights?
His stuff in a vacuum is just unbelievable. I mean, Pitching Ninja got a hold of his changeup. It's just devastating and falls off the table. And the slider he was featuring last year in Houston against Texas is just devastating. And the fastball, we've seen it up to 97 miles an hour. All that's really good, but he's got to put it all together and command it. And look, he worked into the 8th inning on a Friday night at SEC game on Friday. It's not as if he's just getting knocked all over the yard. He had one really bad outing, but he's got to refine everything, and he's just not as consistent and as good pitch to pitch as some of those elite aces. But it's all in there. He's got every ability to be there. He just got to keep going out there.
Thank you, Hunter. Big meeting for you today. I hear.
Well, I'm obviously on the road right now, so that's where I'm headed. We'll see what we can do.
Go get him, bro. You sounded great on Sunday.
All right, thank y'all.
All right, man. There's Hunt Palmer checking in from the LSU Sports Radio Network, giving his thoughts.
Nick just showed me the picture.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you gotta see
man.
it. It's amazing.
I mean, y'all's on-air reaction was incredible.
It's not what I was
I felt like the kid at the lunch
It
table
involves
that
corn dogs.
Not cool,
couldn't
man.
get some, man. Everybody's laughing at it. It was so funny.
I didn't want to get it a
No,
peek
I
into the
know, I
camera.
know.
No, you don't want to get that image in the
I'm
camera.
trying. Should I not pull it up over here?
No, you should not.
No, I'm just gonna pull up my phone.
In SFW?
Oh yeah.
It does involve
Really?
corn dogs, though, which is amazing.
Wow. Advanaclean, the corn dogs things.
It's so
I've never understood it.
Y'all really have to realize this. It doesn't offend us.
Because it doesn't make any sense.
Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I've never understood it.
Neither does making fun of our black uniforms. Doesn't make any sense.
Those are bad.
I mean,
Black pants, dude.
It's all right. Daily, we're brought to you. I mean,
It's so
just
disappointing.
Advanaclean. Remember, you can get in touch with Advanaclean. If you see mold that looks like black jerseys on a baseball field, get in touch with our guy Bradley Lynch over at Advanaclean, as he can help you out. I was wondering, I was like, is this on? Did you not hear that?
I did hear it.
Okay.
It took me a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about you and your team. Remember, over at Advanaclean, water, fire, and mold. If you see water stains in the ceiling, if you feel water on the carpet, if you smell smoke, if you see fire damage, or like I said, you see mold growing like black uniforms on a baseball
I
field.
feel like y'all are just poking
Get
me to
in
see
touch.
when I might lose
Oh,
it.
yeah.
When
Get in
will
touch
I
with
lose it?
Advanaclean. 225 area code 369-5228 is the phone number. Get in touch with Lynch online at advanaclean.com. Just search him on Google, Advanaclean Baton Rouge. Lynch is an absolute warrior, man. I mean, the guy is a workaholic. He doesn't stop working. He works around the clock. You can get in touch with him at any point during the day. I always tell the story about how I just sent him a text message on Christmas Day. 45 minutes later, he's in my living room as he was just here to get it done, man. He wanted to see the work, diagnose the problem, got the work done. Very easy. As I tell you all the time, if you have to make the call to Advanaclean, going to be a bad day. 369-5228, 225 area code. But once you make that call, everything's good. He's going to handle the insurance company. He's going to handle the contractor. He's going to make sure the business and the job is done professionally and done correctly. Online at Advanaclean Baton Rouge, or call him today, 225-369-5228. We'll be back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show, presented every day by Go Chevrolet. Can you be assured Sure that the air and surfaces in your home are clean, sanitized, and safe for you and your entire family? You can now by logging on to Valera.com/Jordy Culotta, where you, your home, your office, your family can be protected 24/7 with active pure technology. This NASA-based science has proven 99.9% reduction of airborne SARS-2 and COVID-19 virus in just 3 minutes. Log on now to Valera.com/Jordy Culotta.
Have a late night and can't make it for the Jordy Culotta Show at 7 a.m.? No worries. Catch us on demand on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast.
Go Chevrolet is under new management, but it's the same old familiar names that you know here from the area. Lee Carney and Nick Richard are up and running in LaPlace, Louisiana, and they want you to stop in today. But if you can't, they'll make it easy for you. They'll come to you. Log online to GoChevrolet.com. That's GEAUX Chevrolet.com. Go Chevrolet is conveniently located on Airline Highway in LaPlace, Louisiana. Shop all the inventory, whether it's new or pre-owned, at GoChevrolet.com. That's GEAUX Chevrolet.com. Dr. James Johnson and Dr. Chad Spillers of Johnson and Spillers Dentistry, with 2 locations, one in Gonzales and one in Baton Rouge between Segan Lane and Bluebonnet, offer everything from ceramic crowns to pediatric dentistry, dental cleanings, Botox, extractions. They're online at johnsonspillers.com. Located in Gonzales and in Baton Rouge, seeing both new patients and existing patients. Log online to johnsonspillers.com.
If you missed the show, you can always check out our podcast, brought to you by RMB Builders, on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you can listen to podcasts.
Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, presented by Go Chevrolet. Stop in and see Lee Carney, Nick Richard, and the crew down there in LaPlace, Louisiana, as they have their Go used car lot coming to Florida Boulevard on April 1st. They will be opening up. Microphone on?
My mic. Sorry.
What'd you say?
I said Dominic.
Dominic.
Dominic is opening.
Up in Michigan. Dom's up in Michigan right now.
Looking for a Super Bowl swag.
Said he was talking trash.
Rob
Dom, we got it for you,
Boudreaux
bro. We
says
got it.
Katie is too sweet to mess with her like that. Thank
Okay.
you, Rob.
Is that David?
No, it's not.
You
David.
sure? Is that David Allagood?
Had to
Inside?
text your
It's
husband, like, can you
not.
jump in the bunker and defend me?
He's not going to defend me. He's going to be on y'all's side. Are you serious?
I don't know. I don't know
What,
where
that
the,
he
where the
thinks that
lines get drawn.
black baseball uniforms are terrible?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's an easy team to be on.
If it's not, if it's not your
Let's
squad,
move on. Let's
exactly.
move on from it. I mean,
Easy.
Mississippi. I'm a Bulldog. I'm
Easy
used
win.
to losing. Y'all are used to winning all the time. We come here and play a game every now and then. Like, let me just have a win. Let me just have a little bit of positivity. That's it. And then
We're
let's move
black
on.
on the road too.
Let's do it. Black on the road. We never have to mention it again. No one
Jeff,
followed through on their wagers with me.
Give me the
It's
damn
just-
bell. Jeez, give me the
I already
bell.
put it up. Already
Give me
put
the
it
bell.
up. It's over.
God
Move
sakes.
on. Move on.
Jeff Marcone says he'd like to know how many inside the restricted area shots, layups, gimmies, bunnies LSU missed last night. It was frustrating. Hyatt had to look at one.
It's been all year.
Watford, I thought, was settling early on. I thought that Watford was able to dominate his defender again. Give him the ball, clear out, just move out of the way, and get to the free throw line. Put these guys in foul trouble.
The fouls,
Make
man.
one.
Can we talk about college basketball having only 5 fouls? It's just not enough. For
Yeah.
the way that the game's officiated, it needs to be the opposite almost. People in the NBA never get in foul trouble, and that's
That's
6.
That's the X factor, is the way they officiate it.
I mean, You get to 4 fouls, you get 3 fouls in the first half, you can't play.
Yeah. No.
Wait, what did you say about NBA? What is it with NBA for NBA?
They have 6 fouls.
Oh, they
and you're
have
out.
6?
In college, they have 5, but they call them like you could have your shoe untied. It's a technical.
Games 8 minutes longer in the NBA. It's a little bit longer of a game in the NBA. You play 12. You play 4 12-minute quarters rather than 2 20-minute halves. I think college basketball experimented with 6 fouls. One of the years that Dale Brown and LSU went to the Final Four.
Wait, so how long ago was that?
I want to say it was 86.
That was the last time that they tried that?
I don't know that.
Okay.
I don't know that. But I know that they have experimented with the 6 foul method and rule. I don't know where it stands currently, but I agree. I also would like to see, and this is something that I know that every officiating crew, really is looking for is youth, right? I mean, you look at these games, and I'm not trying to come down or point out anything about older referees in the sense of, look, they've seen a lot of the action, they've been around a lot of the games, they understand how to control and really keep the game in check. But this game is moved. That game last night for the first 28 minutes was as high of a level of a college basketball game as you will ever find.
Dude, your pulse was pounding.
I mean, like 94 feet of just action.
It's incredible.
Action. One on one side of the floor, somebody's getting a and one. On the next side of the floor, somebody's hitting a 3. The ball's outlet. The ball's pushed up the floor. I mean, just out, running, playing. And that game, from an officiating standpoint, at some points, I mean, you had to look out there. I mean, they had, I'd say the median age of the officials last night was 55, 52 years old. To me, this is a young man's game. This is, and look, I know that there's a need for officials. And a lot of the reasons why these old guys are kind of stuck in this industry and stuck in this trade and get all these games is because there's not a lot of young blood within the sport. But it's interesting because I'd like to talk to Whitehead. I'm trying to think. Whitehead is
Dick Bavetta.
No, out of Denham Springs, was named the Mark Whitehead was named the head of the officials organization for the SEC. Now, he has since resigned that position a year ago. But I would like to just talk to him about the state of officials within college basketball and kind of the future and how it looks, because that game, one thing I did notice was you can get caught watching in a game like that if you're an official. You know what I mean? If you're not locked in, you're like, I mean, at some point you kind of react to Cam coming off that screen, going left and knocking one down in a Michigan defender's eye, right? I mean, that game was, that was just a lot of action back and forth. And I'm not complaining about the officials at all.
Speaking on the foul thing, Mitch Covington said they tried it in the SEC for one season. I think it was Shaq's sophomore year. Shaq fouled out in the NCAA tournament, not knowing he had fouled out.
With 6?
And the SEC abandoned the trial run.
Oh, he fouled out in the NCAA because he thought that they were using the 6 count, the 6 foul count,
yeah.
and he had 5.
That was the trial run.
Gosh.
Speaking of Shaq, my shirt, the Shaq DJ picture. One team, one podcast put this out.
Is that from his college dorm?
I guess.
I mean, that is
I don't know
young
specifics
diesel.
on it, but yeah,
Young
he has good
diesel.
shirts on his site.
Yeah,
by the way,
they do.
Really
One
does.
Team One Podcast. Shout out to the guys. Also, check out our merchandise store.
Jordy.itemorder.com.
Dance, Nick.
Be sporting that raincoat again tomorrow.
yes,
I don't know
indeed.
if y'all have ordered yours or not, but you should have to prepare for the rain this week.
I just stepped outside of the UDL. I mean, it looks like Armageddon.
Wait, does it?
Bro, the rate there's like
I mean, look.
every other post on my timeline right now is just like
I
the,
just see a
the
still
radar.
tree.
Well,
Technically,
check
the
out
sun
the
should be
background.
My God, that tree.
check out the
We'll be
limbs on
there
that
in
thing.
30 seconds.
Daily Tour brought to you by Edward Jones. Remember Edward Jones. Tough day for my guy Daniel Newman, as he's a hoop head. He loves LSU basketball. Last night had to be a bummer for him. But remember, if you need help with your finances, you want help with the 401k, he's helped us out. Get in touch with Daniel Newman, daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. Get in touch with him there, or you can call him at 261-8262 is the number. They're out there in Central. Edward Jones, Daniel Newman, get in touch with him today as he can help you with the financials. With if you work at Dow, if you work at Exxon, if you work at BASF, he is an absolute wizard when it comes to the financials and dealing with the what's going on at the plant. So get in touch with Daniel Newman. Daniel.Newman is at edwardjones.com. All right, let's call Frank Wilson here as Coach Wilson checks in with us every Tuesday here on the Jordy Culotta Show. As we go down to McNeese, Coach Wilson and the Pokes got a nice win over the weekend. Hello.
I thought that was him.
I did too.
Like, wow,
Are we
what a
ringing?
greeting.
Are we ringing? Yes.
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right. But Coach Wilson and the Pokes got a nice win over the weekend as they went up to Northwestern and squared off against the Demons.
I'm sorry, the person you were trying to reach has a
way.
voicemail.
All right. All right.
Wait, while we're talking about basketball still, some team had the most dunks in an NCAA game this year so far. Do y'all know who that was? I think it was
let
Florida
me
State,
guess.
maybe.
Probably Florida State
I think it
last
was
night.
Florida State.
Florida State looks great.
That Anthony Polite kid, he scored 22 points. That was a career high for him.
Florida State?
Yeah.
He was so nice about it, too.
He really was. Are you being serious?
That was less than polite.
Oh, wait. Yeah, it is. But yeah, he really was though. Like, he was a good kid.
I love the field of 16. I mean, when you look at the overall group that is playing here, there are storylines everywhere. From Oral Roberts, who looks like dominant. I mean, they got the best scorer in the tournament.
Shades of John Morant last year.
I mean, these are some of the stories that you find out within the tournament, or storylines like this. The Oral Roberts story and what's going on with that crew. Kansas losing to USC last night. I mean, I was looking at USC's roster. I mean, they got a couple of dudes. I mean, they potentially have the number 1 pick in the draft when you talk about their big man. That they have 2 brothers on their team at USC that are absolutely the Mobley brothers. Evan Mobley and Isaiah Mobley are fantastic. Here's Coach Wilson dialing us up right now as Coach Wilson coming off of a nice win over the weekend. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning, guys.
Yes, sir. Good to catch up with you, just like it is every week. This week, I'd imagine a little bit better mood for our guy as you're coming in here with a W. I know all season has been hard work, and it has been geared towards winning on the field. You had to be proud of the way your guys traveled last week and got the win versus Northwestern.
I did. To go to Natchitoches and play a rival team on their homecoming. And to come out victorious was a big deal for us. We were an elusive conference win that we've been chasing the last couple of weeks. Come up short a couple of times, but I thought we played better, Jordy. I thought we improved. So I like to believe that we're trending in the right direction. Still so much work to do, but it felt good to get a win, to see the hard work vindicated by our student athletes who went out and played extremely well.
Good to see Jamal Pettigrew get in the end zone for the Pokes over the weekend as he caught a touchdown pass from Cody Ogeron, and you guys 21-7 win. Coach, you've done a tremendous job of restoring or rebuilding a culture at McNeese. How does the transfer portal work for you as far as bringing guys in? I know Jamal Pettigrew caught a touchdown, and Walker Woods, the Kentucky transfer, got in and played a little running back for you over the weekend.
Yeah, so Jordy, the interesting thing, we were left without any choice. We had no scholarship running backs at that time.
Wow.
And so we didn't have any more. We left 3 at home who were banged up, and the 2 that made the trip got hurt within the game. And so we start the beginning of the fourth quarter, the end of the third quarter. We don't have any tailbacks, and so we have to take our second quarterback and put him at running back. And he finished the game for us, thank God. Just another hurdle that we were able to clear, and very glad we were able to do so. But, yeah, those guys, both of those guys are portal guys and have been helpful for us. Jamal Pettigrew played his best game, not just that he caught a touchdown, but he was dominant in physicality and style of play. And it was one of the things we charged him with. He's playing his best football right now in the last several weeks. He's a tremendous attribute to our football team, and we're very fortunate to have him. On the defensive side, Isaiah Chambers, who was the Southland Conference Player of the Week, is another guy we got out of the portal from University of Houston. Played outstanding. Finished the game with 4 sacks. We had several tackle for losses, I think maybe 7 tackle for losses, 4 sacks. So the ones that we've gotten out of the portal have been very productive for us, as well as our starting left guard. And so it's a big deal for us. We're strategic with it, though.
Yeah.
That we don't wholesale just get everybody out of the portal. That we plan on being here for a while, so we do take a lot of high school guys and some junior college and some portal at need positions that we need to be immediate impact players right now for us.
You had to be proud in the way that your quarterback bounced back. I know he had a rough week last week, and you were talking about a possible a change there or looking somewhere behind him, and he bounces back with a 300-yard game in the air, 2 touchdowns in a spot that I know he was probably feeling a little pressure with his dad being recognized that day.
Yeah, he completion ratio somewhere about 77, 78%. Was very accurate, was very poised in the pocket, played his best game from a passing game standpoint. Little achievements, times when he got out of the pocket, got down and didn't take unnecessary hits that we've been harping on, just trying to get him through this season and allow him to stay healthy. So his brain played a pivotal role in this game, and he was very much on it. I thought he played his best game yet again in the passing game standpoint. I thought he managed it from a run game standpoint, and especially when we had a lead and over 9 minutes remaining, and we still got to figure out how to get out of this game without a running back. And how do we do that? And play call and selection and when to snap and things of that nature. He grew up and was very proud of the game that Cody Ogeron played on Saturday.
What's the responsibility you put on your quarterback, Coach, in a situation like that? What's the ultimate trust from a head coach to a quarterback that you have or that you're looking for with that position?
Yeah, to adhere and carry out the things that we're giving him from the sideline. And so he doesn't have to make the decision by himself. This is when we snap it. We signal that in. We communicate that in between series, during series. We make sure he's able to understand what we're trying to get accomplished. And I think that's a big part of it. Sometimes as a coach, you have a plan in place, and if player and coach aren't on the same page, we have issues because ball gets snapped too early, or we check out and we start throwing it down the field, and that may not necessarily be what we want right now. Or they do give us opportunity to take shot plays, and we want to seize the moment, even though we're in a situation where we want to take a little time off the clock at this time. And so the ability to be able to have discernment and understand what's been asked, what the defense have given us, and how do we carry that out on the game field is what we ask of our quarterback. And he has the intellect and maturity to understand game management and what we're trying to accomplish. And I thought he did that well.
How do you use your bye week?
The last bye week we had the ice storm, so we got nothing out of it.
Right.
This one will be one that we're going to we'll try to get a couple of practice days in. It looks like a monsoon outside. It won't stop raining. So we'll try to get a couple of days of practice. For us, it's huge in self-scout and self-reflection. And so a lot of what we do in this day will be refining who we are, detailing those things from the fundamental things, from alignment to assignment to technique, and then the scheme. And that we need to be totally sound in our fundamentals of what we're trying to accomplish. When we have had successful plays or we have had plays that were not successful, more times than not, it was communication or their lack of. And so to get the call into the game from one end of the secondary to the other end based on adjustment or a team that went from 2x2 to empty, we have to communicate that. When we've gotten sacked or things have happened, at times it's been because we haven't communicated the new declaration of the guy that we're working to. And so those things in individual, in subgroup, and then in team coaching in a part or teaching in a part whole principle is what we seek to attain in this bye week. So really reflecting on ourselves, sprinkled in with some of our opponent who we'll have in a week from now in McNeese State. But mostly it's about us and refining ourselves.
How do you recruit this week? How do you use the time not away from football but off the field as much during a game week to look into the future?
Yeah, this is where it gets fun.
Yeah.
We go every night. We started last night. We'll go again tonight all the way through Friday. And so guys are managing their position group. Here's what I tell them, Jordy. You're the head coach of your position room. And so you have the responsibility as the position coach to make sure you know that board best at your position group, and that we've identified and that our recruiting is very efficient in the guys that we have an interest in, and we're getting the best fit for us. And so our staff, in the midst of a season as well, dedicate this week every night to our war board, where we spend a couple of hours of evaluating, putting notes in, and assessing those guys. And then I go back after the position coach and coordinator gives them a thumbs up, and we give them a final yay or nay. And the next morning we spend calling the high school coach and getting in contact with the student athlete to let them know the status. But just corresponding, being responsible to our state board, corresponding with our state high school coaches and getting these evaluations out during this week will be pivotal for us. And so our plan is to get it done, the entire state, by the end of by Friday afternoon.
Blake Brignac is listening inside of the bunker and has a question for Coach Wilson, and he's right, Coach. You probably could write a best-selling book with the adversity that you've dealt with in the offseason. How have you seen that transfer over to the conditioning of the team here with not having a true offseason like you did at having to deal with the hurricanes and the weather and everything that went into what you guys had to deal with?
Yeah, I think there's some correlation. Met with our doctors post-game and again yesterday morning, and just the health of our football team and where we're at. And we're a little banged and bruising up. And some of it can be attributed to we didn't have time for a full strength and conditioning program or an off-season program. And so we're working ourselves, ironically, in shape during a season, if you will. Across the country, you see FBS programs participating in spring football, and they'll be working themselves into condition into a new season. Now, just imagine you were doing that with games on the line. And so that's kind of where we're at. And that's not everybody's case. It's unique in ours because we just didn't have the time. And so it's been continuous work in progress. It's been challenging, but it's been good for us. I think it'll allow us to go into a summer session and then the fall camp with a better understanding of who we are, a better idea of the quality of depth that we have from the first guy to the third guy, which we don't even have now. Like traditionally during this bye week, you develop the youth of your team. And so you do a young guy scrimmage and things because those guys don't get to play much. But we don't have those guys. I can't even scrimmage. I don't even have a tailback. So it's the scrimmage in the bye week. And so we'll do, skeleton without backs when we have to, and we'll get in some 5-wide stuff and make it work as best as possible. But a lot of it will be individual and subgroup things as well to refine our team. So it's been extremely challenging for us to finish a game victorious without a running back. I've never done that one. That's a new one for me. And so, yeah, we'll put that one in the book too, Jordy.
A lifetime coach and a lot of first-timers for Frank Wilson here in his inaugural season at McNeese, as Coach Wilson is leading the Pokes and got a really nice win over the weekend versus Northwestern. I know you have this Saturday off, but if you had a chance to peek ahead to Lindsey Scott and the Colonels and the challenge that they present.
Yeah, and do they present problems?
Right.
They're probably I don't know an FCS program for sure that's more talented. They're as talented across the board at every position than any team we faced, and so we'll have our hands full. We'll prepare this team, though, Jordy. I promise you that, and we'll get ready to play, and we'll play hard. But a tremendous challenge in front of us against a very talented football team. Tim Rebo has done an outstanding job down there on the Bayou, and so we'll get our team ready. We'll get our team ready to compete.
Go get him, Coach. Go Pokes. We'll talk again next Tuesday. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you, man.
Thank you so much. Go Pokes.
Yes, sir. There he is, Frank Wilson, checking in from Lake Charles this morning as the Pokes got a nice win over the weekend, and talking a little bit about Cody Ogeron. And we're not going to talk and dive into McNeese football, but you got to understand the situation and the pressure that he answered on Saturday. Last week, Coach Wilson, before he comes on with us, has his weekly press conference, meets with the local media on Tuesday mornings. And during that press conference, he was asked directly about the stability of his quarterback. And Coach Wilson, as you've come to recognize here, if you've been listening every week, he's not running away from anything. He's usually going to shoot you straight. He's going to tell you like it is. He's not a lot of coach speak. You know what I mean? He's directly going to tell you how he feels about a player or his program. And he said last week that there could be a change at quarterback, that he might have to make a change. And Cody Ogeron has been up and down, right? Inconsistent. At times he's been really good, but his bad's been bad. Last week, they go to his dad's former college, right? Ed Ogeron played, transferred out of LSU and left and went to Northwestern and played with Bobby Hebert and Joe Delaney and all those guys at Northwestern and the Demons, and they had that magical season. And Ogeron was recognized over the weekend in Natchitoches for his time at Northwestern and for, you know, the pride that Ogeron has in his former program. All the while, his son is a starting quarterback on the opposite sideline playing with that type of boat or that type of comment from your head coach, where your job is in limbo right now going into the weekend. And Ogeron responds, throws for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, like you heard Coach Wilson there, doing some things that without a running back really stepped up from a mental standpoint and helped the coaching staff out. I got to know Cody Ogeron just a little bit with him being around the LSU football building last summer, and he was working directly with Russ Callaway, who is a very bright offensive mind on LSU staff as an analyst. And you could see the passion and the will that Ogeron had in trying to be successful as a quarterback this year. So deep down, I pull for him in the sense of I just kind of saw up close the hard work that he was putting in to going there. Look, they got a transfer. Walker Woods, who you heard Coach Wilson talk about, who he had to put in at running back over the weekend, transferred from Kentucky as a quarterback out of the SEC. I mean, there was a lot of people that thought he was coming into play. And Cody did a nice job of holding him off. And then, you know, last week really having his best game of the season to I guess hold down that starting quarterback role. But as you heard there with Coach going on the way out, they got their hands full next Saturday versus Nichols and Lindsey Scott and Tim Rebo. I mean, those cats are hanging up basketball-type scores. I mean, they are scoring in bunches. And Lindsey Scott, for as talented as he was coming out of Zachary, out of high school, he's had, you know, some trouble just finding that landing spot. He left LSU. He initially signed with LSU. He left LSU, went to Missouri, transferred out of Missouri, went to Nichols. Now he's at a spot where they are showcasing his talent. And he is a special player. He's a special dude, man. If you've ever had a chance to talk to him, he's a cool cat as Lindsey Scott is running that offense for Tim Rebo. Remember, Daily, we are brought to you by Elevate Treatment Center. Elevate Treatment Center is right here in Baton Rouge and located off of Jefferson Highway, and you can find them online at elevatetreatment.com. That's ELEV, the number 8, treatment.com. And we remind you that Elevate Treatment is dedicated to serving their patients who are battling drug and alcohol addiction. Their goal is to guide you in your steps towards recovery and help you achieve and maintain sobriety. They are a treatment center located in Baton Rouge. They take and provide treatment of addiction, disorders, behavioral illnesses in adults. They explain their entire program online at elevatetreatment.com. Whether it's you, whether it's a loved one that you are concerned about, get in touch with Elevate today. You can call them. Their phone number's right there online, but check out the website where they can take you through all of their services, tell you about the program, and tell you why you should choose Elevate Treatment and Legacy Center. But they're going to work with you directly right here in Baton Rouge off of Jefferson Highway. ELEV, the number 8, treatment.com. We asked for your questions inside of the bunker. Ask the Jordy Culotta Show. Ask the JC Show. We were scheduled to talk to Coach Kevin Falk today here on the Jordy Culotta Show, and that's my fault. I forgot. Coach Ogeron speaks on Tuesdays, and the program usually wants, or does not usually, they want his voice as the only one that comes out on this day of the week. So we will reschedule Kevin Falk here on the Jordy Culotta Show at some point over the next couple of days to get some input on how LSU's looking in that offensive backfield, because I think that there's a lot of storylines that are brewing here in spring camp for LSU after they got their first scrimmage on Saturday. And we didn't have a chance to talk a lot about that over the weekend, but it seemed like the defensive line really dominated the first scrimmage. And I think that is to be expected when you're talking about implementing a new system. Now, James Craig's coming back as the offensive line coach, but with Pete's coming in and Mangus coming in on the offensive side, there has to be some types of symmetry between those guys and the offensive line coach. So whether or not there's new methods and principles, I don't know that. But I do know when you're talking about implementing both sides of the ball that it usually takes the offense a little longer to catch up than the defense. So it was, I guess you take it how you want on just some of the reports, and there was nothing official, but it just sounded like with B.J. Ujulari back in the mix and that defensive line going at full strength, it sounds like Andre Anthony is set for just a breakout season. I mean, he is finally back into a very comfortable mode of playing football. Dave Aranda and Ed Ogeron asked him to play a 3-4 scheme when he was an absolute game wrecker in high school at Edna Carr in a 4-3. Last year, they finally get back to a 4-3 look with Bo Pelini, and he has a really good year. I think he closed the year very, very strong. And with Durante Jones coming in and him being multiple, but, primarily they'll run a lot of that 4-3 scheme. I think Andre Anthony's set to have a really, really breakout season, a nice year to possibly play himself into a potential draft spot. Because, physically, bro,
He's put together as you want to be.
I mean, he looks like Adonis.
Well, he's been working out with Tommy Moffitt for 6 years. It's about time.
Yeah, I mean,
nothing bad's going to happen there.
But that's what I love. 6 year. You got a guy that's a 6 year back in the locker room. You've got seniors. You've got experienced guys. I mean, Andre Anthony is a man, right? Like, I mean, think about you at 22 compared to 18, 19. He might even be 23 at this point as a 6 year. I mean, Nick, how long this is your 5th?
This is my 4th year.
This is your 4th? How old are you?
I'm 21.
You're 21.
23.
So he's probably 23 years old. In a college locker room.
He's a GA.
That's filled. He is. That's exactly right. He's a graduate assistant. He's a young coach. And there's not going to be a lot of scenarios or situations that he has not seen up until this point. And I saw an Inside the Huddle that Emily Dixon, our good friend Shay Dixon, his wife, Emily Dixon, works with LSU athletics, works directly with LSU football, and does a tremendous job in helping out in the social department, and helping out with putting out and promoting the program. But she has a video that she does, I believe it's called Inside the Huddle, where she talks, whether it be with a coach, a player, and this week's feature was Andre Anthony, and hearing him on the reasons why he came back, describing the 2019 locker room, and hearing a lot of those guys who had opportunities to go to the league but decided to come back, Rashard Lawrence being the most notable, and what that meant for the team as far as being able to run the locker room. You know what I mean? There is a lot of situations. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of dealings that go on inside of a locker room that never should make it to a head coach's desk. That should be cleaned up internally before anybody with a paid position has to touch it, right? Now, last year, I think the circumstances were a little different and a little unusual in the sense of what the topics and what they were debating and what was going on inside of the locker room. But a lot of that stuff can be cleared up by leadership and by guys that are experienced and veteran inside of the locker room. And I think this team has that. And I think Andre Anthony is a great example of that. Austin Deculus would be another example of that. Not necessarily a guy that really could have been a high draft pick, but he could have left LSU. And in years past, there's examples, laundry lists long, of guys that are on the fence that may not make a lot of sense, and asking, he's leaving? He's going now? All of those guys came back this year. All of them. I mean, outside like the Torrey Carters of the world. You know, and I don't mean any disrespect to Torrey Carter, but I mean, like, it's going to be tough for him to make an NFL roster. I mean, he's not leaving to go to the league. You know, I mean, I don't know the background information on it, but there was not a lot of those stories where you saw, like, that dude's leaving?
Right.
You know,
that's kind of been what LSU was. You know, back, rewind 10 years, it was fringe guys that were going to go into their senior year, and you're like, all right, he can play himself into a good draft position, and then they just
Sadiq
bounce.
Charles. What the hell are you doing going pro, man? And I mean, was he a 4th-round pick? He comes back next season. I mean, he's potentially a 1st or 2nd-round pick. That's how that thing works. I mean, that's how that process is supposed to work. I mean, you go get an evaluation and they tell you that you are not a 1st-round pick. How about that? You're just not a 1st-round pick where you can make life-changing generational type money. You should go back to school to try to get into that 32 that is going to be selected in the 1st round. Potentially you can get there. I mean, there may be guys that hit a ceiling that you just say, hey, look, this is, I believe Kevin Minter was that guy where they just told, look, man, you're not going to grow anymore. You know, you're a tackling machine. You're not going to get 2 inches taller. I mean, come start making those tackles and getting paid for it. And he wasn't a 1st-round pick, but it made a little bit more sense for a guy like that in that situation. I think that Andre Anthony is a great example of a guy that could have left. Wouldn't have made a lot of sense. It wouldn't have made a lot of sense of him leaving. But how many times have we seen that at LSU? And for those guys to come back in this run, I think that's the first sign of a good thing with this LSU team. Like, that's the first thing that you look at and say, okay, a lot of the guys that had potential of leaving came back. All right, that's a good sign. They got some leadership. They got some veterans inside that locker room that understand what it takes to really be a championship level program. You know what I mean? Because it's easy to say that stuff in college football because that's what you're supposed to do. That's what the facilities tell you you're supposed to do. That's what the coaching salaries demand of you. But to really put that stuff in, day out, you got to be held accountable by your peers. And I think to be held accountable by your peers, you got to have leadership and seniors and veterans and older guys in there that can really look at you, stare at you in your eyeballs, and not say a word and say everything. You know, and I think Andre Anthony is one of that is definitely one of those guys.
And I think it speaks to the culture that they're building at LSU, because after what happened last year, it would have been easy to bounce. Like, all right, this is an absolute shit show. We went, defense is awful. I'm getting out of here. But instead, they kind of galvanized the unit and said, we can come back and change this thing. 2019 wasn't that long ago. Yeah. Like, we know how a program's supposed to be built, and for everybody to kind of put their hat in the ring and say, let's get this thing right.
Yeah.
You saw it most prolifically on the offensive side of the ball. You get the whole line to come back. I mean, that says something just incredible about the program and what their mentality is about it.
And really, I mean, if you'd have lost one of those guys, you could sell it as dire.
Right.
I mean, like, they would have been in a – and look, and who knows what happens. Football's a dangerous game. It's a brutal game. Who knows with injury? But to have those guys back, I think, says a lot about the program and just kind of recapturing the stability. I think the recruiting class said a lot about that. I mean, remember when they were signing those guys in early December, LSU was in flames.
Yeah.
I mean, people were almost laughing at them nationally. But to be able to just kind of like steady the ship and say, hold up. Let's make sure we secure this recruiting class, get all areas of need done. I mean, Sage Ryan's coming in and starting.
Oh, yeah.
At safety. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the talk behind Davis out of Pennsylvania is that he's a dog that's already on campus, and Langlois can play. You know what I mean? The kid from Catholic High Point could compete. I know what it is. You know what I mean? But, I mean, turn on his film, and whether it's 1A, 3A, or 5A, that cat's going to pop. He's going to jump off the screen. And he may not have been the first choice. He may not have been the fourth choice. But he's a hell of a choice. And I think overnight they've reestablished some depth at safety. Huge position of concern. I mean, you hear Stingley talk about how much emphasis he puts on the safety position when he's here every week. So I think, good signs all in all. I mean, good signs early on in camp as far as what's happening with LSU and what's going on towards the future and building the program, not building the program, stabilizing the program after a rocky season, following the best college football season of all time, arguably.
How about the Pelicans? That win over Denver.
Did they win last night?
Mm-hmm. 113 to 108. And they play the Lakers tonight.
No LeBron.
No LeBron.
No AD.
Sucks. And I entered that contest
but it's in Los
to get
Angeles.
tickets. No, it's here.
No, the game tonight's in Los Angeles, isn't it?
No, it's here.
No?
I just know.
I mean,
Okay.
it's in New Orleans.
Okay.
No, it's in New Orleans.
It's here.
It's not here. It's in New Orleans. Y'all know what I meant. I entered a contest to try to win tickets and didn't win. I keep thinking David's probably going to surprise me and take me to the game tonight.
Yes, it is. It is in New Orleans. You're right. I believe you.
Seems like it. Really seems like
Let me
it.
go back and fact check it.
Speaking of trust issues, you got on like a high horse earlier with trust.
Yeah, well, no, I trust that. I thought because it's on TNT, and I just
What
thought
does that have to do with
I
it?
just thought for some reason that it was going to be in.
No one's in a big enough market
Los
for you,
Angeles.
bro.
No, but I will tell you this: what I was listening to on ESPN Daily puts out a podcast. Mina Kimes used to be the host of it. Now it is
Pablo Torre.
Pablo Torre is the host of it, and his guest last night or this morning was that I listened to. It was yesterday. Was the guest was Andrew Lopez, who's the beat writer for the Pelicans, and people nationally are now starting to pay attention of what is going on with Zion, and how he is transforming that team, that franchise, and really kind of underneath, kind of starting to see the movement of the game, right? Like he's a Giannis type prospect. This guy that you don't see, you don't have access, you've never seen this type of player that is now running the point guard spot for New Orleans. And that's what Lopez was talking about in the ESPN Daily with Torre, was that how it started as an experiment. Like if you go back to a game in mid-January, they let him run the point like 4 times. The next game, it's like 13 times. By the time it was the game that I went to and watched Garrett play with Chicago a couple of weeks back, where he missed the free throws at the end of the game, he ran the point like 27 times that night, to where now he's primarily bringing the ball up for New Orleans at 6'7", 285 pounds. And how people and coaches and scouts and players and people that Lopez are talking to every single day on the NBA beat around the NBA world are saying this cat is so different than everybody. I mean, it's kind of what we were talking about a little bit a couple of weeks ago, in the sense of, man, take your kids and go watch this guy play. I mean, the only reason why I give a damn about the NBA franchise being an hour away from our door is because my kid's 10 and that they have Zion. And I couldn't imagine being in a suburb of Chicago, Illinois, when Jordan was in his second season and being an hour away from the Bulls.
I know, right?
Because that's what this is. I mean, that's potentially what it could be, but early on, the people and peers are telling you that's what it is. This guy is a freak. He doesn't exist. Everybody's been watching basketball for so long within that trade, and they've never seen anybody like him. I mean, everybody wants to say, and I agree with this a little bit, that the 1992 Dream Team opened up basketball internationally. Like that was the floodgate that pulled open, and everybody, Dirk Nowitzki, was playing basketball in Germany that NBA scouts found. Right, like Yao Ming started playing basketball in China, and that was kind of the floodgate that made that happen. I think it was Shaquille O'Neal. I think it was Dale Brown finding Shaquille O'Neal in an Army base in Germany when he was 13 years old, and that this cat could run, jump, catch, dunk a basketball, shoot it with that type of size and agility. And people said, where is this guy? Where does this guy exist? And they've never really been able to find another Shaq. I mean, a guy that can run, just the hand-eye coordination, his agility. I mean, go back and look at Shaq, his first decade in the league, his 2000 season. He is they changed the rules of the game for him. I mean, you could now run zone defense in the league. They had to change the strength of the basketball goal. They had how to take it from titanium to steel or something. I mean, they had to they called it. They would put a sticker on it. They would Shaq-proof the goal because this guy would just yank down NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, just the stanchion would break the hydraulic system.
Halftime's coming early. I'm breaking the goal down.
The New Jersey net highlight when he goes baseline and he yanks the entire backboard down on his head. I mean, the highlight in Phoenix where he breaks the hydraulic system. I mean, the goal just starts shrinking. I mean, the goal just starts coming down. I mean, that if you've never seen it, Inside the NBA, rest in peace, one of the best television shows ever. Ahmad Rashad and Hannah Storm ran it. Ahmad Rashad, on his first interview with Shaq, takes him to some health club, it looks like. Have you ever seen this?
Yeah, I have.
And a young Shaq. He's got cut off shorts on. He's got looks like he goes to Florida. He's got jean shorts on. And then they just flip him a basketball, and he takes 2 dribbles and yaks it over his head and falls directly back down on his back because he yanks the rim off of the goal. Pull it up. It's before the draft.
PR nightmare.
A PR nightmare. I mean, his agent's got to be his balls had to go into his throat watching that.
Is he okay? You okay, big fella?
Shaq. How many fingers do I have up? I mean, but Shaq just bounces up. But I mean, I think that's who Zion is.
Chris Jarrell said the Pels are trying to trade Lonzo Ball. I've read some things about that.
Yeah.
The Bulls were looking at him, right?
You know why?
Is that still going on?
You know why? Because they have a point guard now. Because Zion's running the point. And if Zion doesn't go to David Griffin 3 weeks before the All-Star game and says, keep your hands off Alonzo, he's probably already gone. But they're not getting the return on investment now because they got a 6'7", 300-pounder bringing the ball up for him that's unguardable.
And he's good at it. He's good at playing the point.
Dude, I mean, when he gets within 6 feet, you either foul him or he makes it. And I'm talking about against the best defender in the league, Rudy Gobert. I mean, Rudy Gobert, he's walking towards the sidelines I don't know what else to do.
And how many times have you seen that? Somebody going
after
a foul,
hands up.
No idea what's going on.
I mean, who was it? Who did he body bag? Tristan Thompson?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
I mean, Tristan Thompson is a player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not an elite player in the league. He's not an all-star player, but I mean, he signs big contracts for his ability to defend and protect the rim. That's what he was trying to do against Zion, and Zion put him on his back. Check out the ESPN Daily Podcast with Pablo Torre, the latest edition with Andrew Lopez. They go 25 minutes on who Zion is and what he is becoming and what Lopez is hearing on the NBA beat. And I'm telling you, it'll give you chills if you're into sports in the sense of Little J has access to this for the next 6 to 7 years to watch this cat develop into his prime and play at his prime level for an extended amount of time. Now, there is the concern of his weight that they talk about within there. And it's viable. 300 pounds bouncing off of those springs like he does, jumping like that, it's got to wear on you. So how long can he sustain? How long can he maintain? Who knows? But the fact is that it's happening right there. And they play the Lakers tonight at 6:30. Now, the Pelicans are terrible. I mean, all in all. Last night's win will be this night's blowout, tonight's blowout. You know what I mean? That's kind of who they
Hope not.
No, they got to get up 20 first.
Right.
And then they'll blow it.
Okay.
So if you go to that game, I think
I would still like to go to the game.
I think
I love
JJ
the
Redick's
games.
played his last game as a Pelican because of the emergence of Zion. I think that Lonzo Ball is now a shiny piece of trade bait that David Griffin and the Pelicans can dangle out there. I think Eric Bledsoe, to a degree, is trade bait at this point. Anybody who's handling the ball for you primarily that's not giving you any type of production, not giving you the production that you need offensively to play alongside. That is, to me, that's the challenge that Griffin has now.
Well,
is building a roster around him, because you got to get really creative, because this cat can not only be your best point guard, he's your best low block player too. So who do you get to play around him, and what type of game do you play with him? It's got to be fascinating to basketball minds. It's got to be incredibly exciting for people like David Griffin, who is an NBA lifer and has put his body, mind, and soul into this sport, and have this guy, this young, this eager. I mean, Lopez tells the story about that Chicago game I went to that night. Those 2 free throws that he missed. I remember we talked a little bit about it the next day. 10 minutes after the game, and we could debate whether there's nobody in the gym. There was nobody there. He's not doing this for the story. He's not doing it for the camera.
He doesn't do anything for the camera.
He doesn't.
No,
he doesn't.
He really doesn't.
10 minutes later, he's out there and he's shooting free throws, and he's going through the whole thing. He's not just shooting free throws. He went through his entire shooting pregame workout. Where he's still a kid, but yet he's so focused on being great, and he wants to do it with humility. It's like, huh? Pinch me. Am I dreaming? Does this exist? It does? And it happens in New Orleans? Holy shit. You know what I mean? It's wow. And to hear Lopez and those guys talking about it is even more of an energy boost to the conversation of, look, man, it's not just us. Everybody's recognizing it.
Does that make you a little bit more nervous? Now
About
that,
what?
like, the clock's ticking for him in New Orleans.
Sure, I do, but I think that everybody that ever comes into New Orleans, I'll feel like that about.
Yeah.
I thought Breeze in 2011, when he was a free agent, I was a little nervous. I was. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if somebody was going to come. And he was never going anywhere, right? I still think that this market, and especially in the NBA, because, I mean, the NBA is only dominant. I mean, it feels like only a couple of markets can win. You know what I mean? When can you really, really be a championship level program in a small market? San Antonio tells you yes, but Tim Duncan has to take pay cuts to stay.
And you have to build that culture around it. Like that San Antonio is very similar to New England in football. And so Bill Belichick and Greg Popovich, to where the culture's already established. You're coming here to play by our rules. It's not, you go to a superstar power and on the East Coast because you want to be in New York, you want to go to the West Coast, you want to be in LA. Like, that's a very finite way to play basketball and run a franchise.
Yeah. And very much like New England, where it is proved that Tom Brady meant more to the equation than Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
It definitely looks like Tim Duncan meant a lot more than Popovich did to the overall equation of the success of the team on the floor, right? And if you're looking at those two models, I hope that David Griffin is saying, we got to just make sure that this cat stays happy. We just got to make sure that you put the people around. Brady left New England because they wouldn't give him any help. Duncan retired in San Antonio after playing 21 years there. I think he's an assistant coach on the staff right now. I think the lead assistant coach.
Speaking of Gene Schwartz, that man has just a sense of style that you can't copy.
Yes.
Should we talk about Deshaun Watson?
Ooh, man. Let me get to let me yeah, I mean, we definitely got to. Let me talk about Falaya and what Barrett Blondo's got going on over at Falaya Real Estate.
He's all over the place.
He's everywhere.
I see his signs all over town.
He is everywhere.
I love it. That house on Clay Cut, at the corner of like Clay Cut and either Ingleside or Longwood, that's been there forever.
Is it the one, the wide open lot?
Yes.
That's,
and it's like round, and they
Glenmore.
just started redoing it.
Glenmore.
Yeah, and there's a Falaya sign in the yard now.
He's everywhere.
Got one in
Barrett,
LSU.
I need details on that though,
Really?
Barrett.
LSU
Yeah.
Avenue. Yeah.
Remember, Barrett Blondo and Falaya, I've told you, they're really changing the way that real estate's being done. If you are a do-it-yourselfer, if you are or want to try for sale by owner, then you got to get in touch with Barrett Blondo over at Falaya. Download the app today. You can check it out inside your Apple, Google stores. Falaya.com is where you find them online. It's Falaya. It's kind of like the suffix of a Chafalaya. Falaya.com is where you find them online. But you could call Barrett this morning at 939-6153. That's 225-939-6153. And Blondo, as I said, is really changing the way that houses are being sold. If you're looking to sell your house this spring, if you're thinking for sale by owner, then you got to check out Falaya.com. If you like doing things yourself, if you want to save some cash, then you got to check out Falaya Real Estate. It's do-it-yourself, selling your house on steroids. For more information, visit Falaya.com. That's online at Falaya.com. We'll answer your questions here coming up here in a couple of minutes. Greg Lamont is inside of the bunker saying that San Antonio is not a small market because they have 2.5 million people. Okay, I mean, as far as the citizens and the people go, but in an NBA model, San Antonio is viewed as a small market. When you talk about free agents, when you talk about being able to attract players, when they speak of San Antonio, they put it in the same sense, in the same conversation as a small market. Look, what they accomplished is incredible, and I think a lot of small market teams are looking to emulate what they had going on. The Deshaun Watson situation is, I mean, this is, how did this not come out?
I know.
At the times that it did, and I'm not because this looks like it is a huge problem. 6 more lawsuits alleging sexual assault and inappropriate conduct were filed in Houston against Deshaun Watson on Monday.
There are 13 total, right?
And there's 13 total, but Tony Busby, who is the attorney representing the women, said he actually filed another one, and that there's 14 that are pending.
Oh, I see that now. Another massage therapist thing.
It did not appear in district court on the website on Monday night, but Busby said that there is another one out there that exists.
I'm sure there will be more.
Busby said that there could be up to 10 more.
Jeez.
Are they all in the same, all in the same vein of all massage related incidents?
I don't know that for sure.
That's the only details they give.
But the first 13 are.
Yeah.
You know, and it seemed like this all started about a year ago today. Almost a year to the day was the first complaint and the first victim in these lawsuits is complaining about an incident that happened in late March last season when Deshaun Watson reached out to a masseuse via Instagram and had her come over to his house, and then he also went to her house. And she said that it became very apparent within the first 20 minutes that this was not a massage for athletes, a normal massage for athletes. He was looking for sex. And then all of the stories that come out in succession over the next 12 lawsuits that Tony Busby says has been filed in Houston all have a very similar story that go to it, right? That it's some type of massage that Watson is urging and trying to move into a sexual experience.
Why is this the route he's taking? Like random massage therapist.
I don't.
There's got to, I mean, I don't mean to make light of it. There's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably, back pages.
Go to a
there's
bar.
thing.
Or, slide into someone's DMs or how anybody
Well, I think
does
he
it.
wants a massage, too.
Does he?
I think
It
at some
doesn't seem
point,
like
I think
it.
he likes the entire experience of it all, and then he wants the happy ending.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's got like a
fetish.
He's got some type
Total
of
fetish.
Fetish that, yeah, absolutely, that he is seeking out, and now feels like with his position, the money, that he's got some sense of power because of the way that he's like. I mean, some of the conversations that he's having and sharing with these women, are it feels a lot like what we were hearing a couple of weeks back with the Les Miles situation.
Yeah, it does.
In a position of power where I can almost manipulate these words for you to just say, hey, look, nothing happened here, right? But if you ever need any type of help within your career, or if you don't, I can, like, all these words
In your
and all
massage
this,
therapy career?
yeah, it's like, huh? I mean, yeah, I don't know how Watson didn't believe he was not going to get caught.
He says
You know what I
he's
mean?
going to clear his name.
He said that after the first one.
Yeah,
But
he is very confident, or he sounds very confident.
We've only heard from him after the first lawsuit was filed, right? I mean, we haven't heard from him since then. He said after the first one that he looks forward to clearing his name and that it's a six-figure
Yeah.
lawsuit and that he's never treated any women with disrespect. And then they started falling like playing cards.
Yeah.
Right? Where, I mean, it was like you opened up the deck and you just drop in one by one by one by one by one. And you're like, holy cow, when does this stop? And you haven't heard anything from him since then.
Right.
Which is probably legal advice telling him to just shut the bleep up over there.
Yeah, he's
sit down
saying
and shut
he
up.
hasn't even seen the first lawsuit.
That was when that statement was
Yeah,
made.
when the statement was made. Yeah.
Right. I mean, since that statement, there has been 12 more that have been officially filed within the district court over there in Houston, but there's also another one pending.
And the timing is very interesting of all of this also, as he does a very public dispute with the Houston Texans.
Mm-hmm.
And
Or as he
I will-
likes to call them the Houston Texans.
I will say this. I will say this. When I first saw this, I thought that this was some type of
That's what I thought.
power play from Houston. But if it's upwards of 14 women,
No, it's very real now.
yeah, I mean it's a huge issue. I don't see how he plays football next year, and I don't want to make this. If that stuff he's guilty of, and he's harassing and he's assaulting women, well then he needs to pay a penalty for that. And I think football should be the least of his issues and his concerns. If that's the hill that he's looking at, that he's going to have to overcome to get back to football. But I just don't know how the NFL, who has history of suspending players without real evidence. I mean, look no further than Ezekiel Elliott, where he was suspended 6 games without any type of real, like they had the stuff that they had heard, but they didn't have any real circumstantial court evidence to make that judgment. I don't see if that's in your. I mean, remember that. I mean, Jerry Jones threatened to sue the NFL over that. I mean, the league's biggest owner. I mean, they said they sign, the ownership signs an agreement when you come into that club and fraternity that you're not going to try to move the power on the league. And Jerry Jones was almost driven to do that over that Ezekiel Elliott decision. I don't see how you make that choice, and then with the news that's coming out with Watson, how he would be allowed to play. I mean, I don't see how he gets on the field this season, just from his professional standpoint, because personally, he's got a storm brewing.
He does.
If he's suspended, does he still? He won't be able. Like let's say he sits out, as opposed like this doesn't happen. He sits out for the Texans. He gets fined every game he doesn't show up to, right?
I don't know if he's under suspension.
That's what I'm
don't
saying.
think
So I
he
wondered
is,
if
though.
if he gets suspended, then he wouldn't have to pay these game check fines. So I'm wondering.
No, but I
trying
mean,
to put all this storm together.
but if he's suspended, I would imagine that would be suspended without pay.
Right, but they can't fine him on top of that for missing games.
Who knows?
Okay.
I mean, in the NFL, you know?
Yeah, do whatever you want.
Exactly. I mean, to me, this. I mean, I don't mean to get off here, but I mean, like the salary cap.
Phrasing, dude.
Yeah.
Golly,
HR.
bro. Jeez, how bad was that? That was almost as bad
It
as
really was.
the live read last week.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I don't mean to bring light to this, but I mean, I was doing a live read for Elevate. Do you remember this? And I'm sorry to the people out there.
Yes,
that
I remember this.
But I'm doing a live read for Elevate treatment, and then I just turned to say, let's shoot the basketballs, and I say, let's shoot up.
Just in passing.
I mean, just like they were, I say, let's get off, coming off talking about a masseuse and happy ending. I mean, really, that was some unplanned bullshit right there, man.
Nice peek inside your brain.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
fun to work in a room with a room full of you every day.
Where were we?
Where did you get off?
I don't even know where we were. Let's do some Ask JC Show questions.
All right, hit
How about that?
me,
Let's
hit me,
segue
hit me,
into
hit
that.
All right, let's see what we got
Go,
here.
Nikki.
Hit me.
We got Jeff Marcone.
Yes.
Wanting to know, what does the LSU basketball incoming recruiting class look like?
Good question, Jeff. As I will tell you this, there's not a point guard, which first and foremost, I think LSU needs a true point guard, because I was hoping that Jalen Cook would have seen more minutes over the past season. I thought that he would have come in and played a little bit more and added some depth there at the point guard position. But when you look at this group on paper, there are 3 signees in the class. Jarrell Colbert is out of Tennessee, big 6'9", kind of a swing guy. Brandon Murray is a shooting guard. He's over at IMG Academy. He can fill it up. He's a scorer. I think they're looking at Murray to fill the Cam Thomas role of being a scorer. And then, you got Bradley Ezewiro, who is another big that's coming in this class. He's out of Oak Hill Academy. Seneca Knight is or it might be Seneca. Seneca Knight is a transfer, but he's a shooting guard. So again, replacing some of the pieces of the puzzles that leave, but do you get that pure point guard that LSU needs to trust on the floor? They're still looking, in my opinion, they're still looking to replace Cavell Bigby-Williams, and they're still looking to replace Tremont. Now I know that Tremont is a harder task to find out there, but maybe not because of Cavell's size and his ability to run rim to rim. I think those are the two prospects or two types of players that they really need. A point guard that you can trust with the game on the line, and a big that can run rim to rim and protect for you on defense. Not necessarily score, like Cavell. Like Cavell's role was on the team. You don't have to get out there and give LSU 8 to 12 points a night. You just got to give them 16 hard minutes where you collect every rebound, you intimidate every shot, and you earn every foul. Go find that guy. It's tough, but they have yet to replace Tremont and Cavell, in my opinion, on that championship team.
Do you think there's anywhere that they can go, or anyone you like for that point guard role?
The class of 2022 in Louisiana is loaded in basketball, or 2023 is not this one, but the next one is loaded in basketball. And I got to imagine that there's a point guard there, but I don't have any names that jump straight to mind on somebody they can get. But this goes back to, I trust Wade in evaluating his roster, and I also I don't trust him any more than anybody out there in recruiting. If he usually pinpoints 3 guys that he wants, and he's going to get one out of every position group. You know what I mean? Whatever areas of concern he's looking at, he's going to tell you the 3 guys that he wants. Remember the Musa Sisse story. As soon as that story popped, he was able to go out and grab somebody off of the transfer wire, which, by the way, Musa Sisse, you were talking about one player away for LSU, one rim protector, like we're talking about Cavell Bigby-Williams. Musa Sisse was that guy, and he was also committed to LSU for about a 3-week span. And when Dick Vitale went off on his bullshit one time last year, it backfired. And Wade and Sisse's camp have come out and said such since. This is no speculation, and nobody's piling on, and nobody's sensationalizing anything, and nobody's trying to use anybody for a story. That happened. And that's where it is. And Memphis is out of the tournament, and LSU got bounced last night by a 1 seed.
Noogie wants to know, for Katie, does Henry own a pair of black jammies too?
He doesn't, but he should get a uniform.
Oh, for Sundays.
He should have a
Sundays.
customized GOAT Mississippi State all black uniform for Sundays.
Speaking of goats,
Thank you, Nookie.
Andrew Messina wants to know, when is Joe Burrow coming on the show?
That's a good question. I was actually talking to Jimmy yesterday about the Ohio game, because they were getting all geared up and ready to play.
They were, the TV was showing them.
Yeah. And then come to find out, Ohio in the first round, who beat Virginia, Jimmy's brother's son is the second baseman at Virginia. So they were going back
everywhere.
And forth. They're everywhere.
Cool.
Look at that.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
What a cookout they must have.
I'm telling you.
Baseballs are flying around. There's footballs being thrown. Oh, my
The
goodness.
pickup game.
There's a tire in the yard. They
But
want to wrestle in.
we will definitely get Joey on for sure.
And then speaking of other guests, Greg Lehman wants to know when Will Wade's coming back on to talk about the end of the season.
We will get him one soon for sure. I haven't reached out to Coach Wade after last night. I'd imagine that that's a very disappointing evening for him and his crew, but he'll be inside of the undisclosed location at some point here, recapping the season and talking about where they go as far as recruiting and what's next for LSU basketball. One thing I do believe is that they are being led by the right guy, and it is in the right hands to make sure that he is going to put the best team on the floor every single year. Remember, the last time LSU won 20 wins in 3 straight seasons. You got to go back to the early 80s, the late 80s, early 90s, where Dale Brown did it 5 times in between 87 or 88 in the early 90s. But Will Wade's done it the last 3 years. If COVID doesn't happen, they're 3 straight years into the NCAA tournament. They're coming off of an SEC championship game in the tournament. I believe that this program is heading way on the upwards trajectory, and that they've got the right leader. Now, whatever happens with the NCAA and the independent council and all that stuff from the next time they play basketball again, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know what's anticipated to be happening.
Can you make sure he wears shorts when he comes on the show?
Absolutely.
We got to see those calves.
Yeah,
absolutely.
This thing's popping.
The chair is a calf enhancer.
You had him
It's just-
yesterday.
it's like-
I commented on
It's like
your
take any piece
halftime
of gym
thing.
equipment,
Yeah.
take any of that.
It doesn't take
throw it out.
it doesn't take Will Wade's calves.
You had the calves
to pop.
out too.
They
But
give
you
you
gotta
Will
have
Wade's
good
calves.
calves, though. You gotta have good calves. You can have gross calves.
You can't have no calves,
Right.
but
No cankles.
you
Right.
can get away. You can get away with not a lot for sure.
What do you think of the first thing he does when he gets back? Well,
Wade?
Wade has been on the road for so
Recruit.
long. He's just going to go right back
Recruiting.
into it.
Runs.
Absolutely,
That's why I love the guy.
Absolutely,
Definitely gonna go run too.
He's running.
He's already
He's going to hit the ground running.
But yeah, I mean he's recruiting. I mean, especially when he's being faced with the challenge that he's being hit with, in which 90% of your scoring is leaving.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe even more than that. If you're talking about Smart, Days, Watford, and Thomas.
You'd be looking at box scores, and at the end of the game, you give like 1 or 2
I mean,
bench
who
points a game.
who else scores?
It's 4 people.
Who else scores?
That's what made us so good, dude. I mean, we had all those guys scoring. I don't know. Not Hyatt.
No, he had 2 good looks at it last night.
I think he's a little shell shocked from the Bama game
Yeah,
still.
but you know what? He still gave you really good offensive rebounds. He gave you some of the dirty work that you're looking for. And with guys that can score like Smart, like Days, like Watford, I thought he was the perfect complement to the starting
it was all
five.
starting to come
Like-
together too.
You know what I mean? If
Started
he
to
could have
look
hit a
good.
couple of those bunnies, a couple of those putbacks, if he'd have knocked down that 3 he stared at that went in and out, that rattled in and out, if he hits that, you never know what his confidence goes into. But even like the pass to Days had me tight. The run out dunk had me tight. I thought he was going to get teed up for swinging on the rim.
Right.
But I thought that Hyatt really, when you talk about most improved player at the end of the year, when they go and
Give those
recap this
awards
thing,
out.
yeah, man, I thought that Hyatt was really somebody that was lost early in the season to me. Like I never counted on Hyatt early in the year to be a true factor to who they could become or an outcome of the game, and he was more than that. He was more than that. I mean, he would take on the best, the opposite team's best player. He would offensively rebound. He would pass the ball. I thought that he was a great compliment to what LSU played with this season. Is that all our questions?
Yep.
It is. And
Good
it's
show.
9:02.
Wow.
But let's not end it without J-Lo and A-Rod.
Hit me. What we got?
An
Daily
insider close to
update,
J-Lo
update.
says that they may stay together a little bit for the
You
sake of the
think?
kids. For the sake
You
of the
think?
kids, but that's why they're together right now.
Yeah,
How old are
thank-
the children?
They feel like they have a family. I think they're all between like 12 and 16 maybe.
So one thing that we can definitely count on is that if A-Rod and J-Lo are staying together for the kids, that the next time they blow up is going to be a volcanic explosion.
Yes.
This is going to be
And
in the
it's going to
public.
happen.
It's going to be in the
gonna
public.
happen.
Absolutely, it's going to happen. I say it happens before June, before like middle of the summer.
Okay, that's
He's
specific.
got to get it
I
out.
love
He's
it.
got to get it out the way
Before
before baseball
June.
starts.
Just
Do you, do you want to
absolutely.
wager on it? Do you care to wager on it?
Yeah, I'll
Or
ring
no,
a bell.
'cause you won't follow
I'll ring
through
a
on
bell if they don't.
Okay.
One parting news here. How about the career that Barkevius Mingo
Yeah, dude.
has carved out? I mean, he was here in 2012 was his last year. 2013
Around then.
was his last year because he missed TJ Yeldon on that screen pass. Remember,
Don't talk about that game. Dude, I have a story about that if you want to hear it.
But he signed on with the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, I do want to hear it. After this. Just let me tell what happened with Barkevius Mingo.
That's why I didn't go right into it.
Mingo, 1-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons after spending the last 2 seasons with the Chicago Bears. He'll add some depth at linebacker and special teams for the former first, 6th or 7th overall pick
Yeah,
in the first round.
high up.
High
High
draft
up.
pick for the Cleveland Browns. Has now been in the league nearly a decade. So shout out to Barkevius Mingo. Good for him signing on with the Atlanta Falcons. What happened?
So I was at that game, obviously. Was in LSU at that time. The last time I saw that play was obviously when it happened live. So I never rewatched any of that. I was absolutely heartbroken because that was our moment, dude. We had everything was going the way. Driver Landry corner of the end zone. It was over. That was the script.
Yep.
Game was over.
Yep.
So we have to take these classes at LSU that make you go through an It's like, how do you get hours or something? You have to go do like a rigorous of test, and like they show you a video and they take your blood pressure before and after. And so I was like, all right, I'll do this. I'll knock this thing out. No big deal. I have no idea what the video is. I go in there. They're like, all right, we're going to show you a video. I was like, all right, yeah. They took my blood pressure. And that's the video that they showed me, was the screen past the last 2 minutes of LSU Alabama that game.
Wow.
And dude, they took my blood pressure after, and they like looked at my face like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "I've never seen that since I saw it live," and I was through the roof, dude. I was like mad at the computer screen. And they were like, "You can go now." I was like, "I'm not gonna take a second to calm down."
I still think that was brutal. That was one of the most brutal losses I have ever experienced. 2 years later, to me, was worse. When they set up and Vidal Alexander gets the personal foul after they fumble, after Yeldon fumbles deep in their territory, and if they just score there, they win the game. Vidal Alexander gets the 15-yard penalty.
For pulling on the pile?
Yeah, he pulled on the pile. He did something next to the pile. It was a penalty, though, and it was stupid. It was a boneheaded play. They move LSU into field goal territory. They kick the field goal, go up 3, and they give the running back, who was the quarterback, Blake Sims, the football, and they kick it out of bounds.
That's what I remember.
They kick it out of bounds on the successive kick, because Les Miles used to do that stupid ass, try to kick it in the corner every time. That's when, if you remember Ogeron, when he first got the interim job, when he talked about, we're just kicking it through the back of the end zone. Oh, we're just going to kick it. When we got a guy that could kick it through the back of the end zone, and then he went out and recruited Avery Atkins, who just said, hey, your only job is to kick that son of a bitch out of the back of the end zone. Do not let anybody return it. Don't kick it out of bounds. Don't try to put it in a corner. Don't try to kick it away from somebody. Just kick that thing out of bounds. And Miles had whoever it was that night try to kick it into the coffin corner down there, and it rolls out of bounds, gives the running back the ball with Lane Kiffin calling plays at the 35-yard line. Next thing you know, Kiffin's got him in field goal territory, and they kick the field goal, go into OT, and that's where he hit him with that 2-point play. Remember, he ran that 2-point play where Lane Kiffin, as soon as they take the snap, Lane Kiffin's got his hand in the air, and Blake Sims does the, just brutal. That was the year that Joe Oliva wanted to fire Les Miles. That's the year. I mean, but yes, both of them sucked. Both of them were terrible. Avery Atkins is a beast.
Love Avery Atkins.
Me too, bro. Me too. He got one job. You know why I love Avery Atkins? Because he's got a job. He does his job every time.
Does it perfect.
Does his job every time.
Perfect.
What a gig to get, if you can.
Great gig. Yep. Great gig. I mean, third-string quarterback, place kicker. I'm giving you a career. Which one are you taking?
Third-string quarterback.
All day. Give me Chase Daniels' career.
100 out of 100
Has he not had the best career of like any professional athlete?
Ever. I mean, give me an athlete that has had a better career than Chase Daniels. Has he taken a meaningful snap? I mean, has he taken a real snap that's gotten you in sincere trouble? I mean, everybody goes Matt Flynn on this, and Flynn has, I think, probably the poster career of the backup quarterback where you play like 3 meaningful games that get you paid. He played 1 game at Green Bay at the end of his first stint there where he threw 6 touchdown passes and set the Lambeau record. Then he goes and plays on a Monday night for Aaron Rodgers, who misses against the Patriots, and he goes ham against Belichick's defense. And that gets him the Oakland Raiders. The Seattle Seahawks signed him in free agency, and they draft Russell Wilson.
He never took a snap for Seattle.
Russell Wilson beats him out in
training camp.
Oakland signs him to a big quarterback deal, and he gets beat out by somebody there. So, man, we've gone off on a tangent.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Shout out Barkevius Mingo, though.
Yeah, shout out to Mingo.
When I was like 11, that year they went to the SEC
Is that how we got there?
Yeah. I don't know. I guess
we launched from J-Lo to A-Rod.
Yeah.
We got to Matt Flynn.
We really did. I thought I was ending the show, but
when I was 11, like the SEC championship year, I used to send Barkevius Mingo fan mail on Facebook, and he would always respond.
Really?
I'd have full conversations with him.
Wow.
I mean, nicest guy ever. I've been rooting for him forever.
That's cool, bro. Well, you should try it now.
Old conversation.
A decade later, I'm at LSU now, and you're in the league.
How you been?
Yeah, bro. All right, there's your show, the Jordy Culotta Show. Shout out to Harper's Haberdashery. Stop in and see Sam and the crew over there on Highland Road. They're in the Highland Shopping Center. Majestic for our coffee every day, and our phone line sponsor, Metropolitan Health Group. Remember, the podcast is brought to you by RMB Builders. Rhett Bourgeois and the crew, rmb-builders.com, 921-7062. RMB Builders are back with you tomorrow morning. Get your food questions in for the chef tomorrow. Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois will be here at 8:30 tomorrow morning. If you've got any food questions, get them inside of the bunker, get them over to the crew, and we'll make sure and ask Chef Jean-Paul, as he is here at 8:30 every Wednesday. Enjoy this sloppy Tuesday. It's going to be nasty out there. Stay safe. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Bye.
Be safe.
Later.